Today, we are going to talk about 10 things that cars do that are illegal all the time. A lot of car drivers are going to react to this and say, like, well, bicyclists do things that are illegal all the time. And I'm going to cover that in a different episode. But I will also say that we should really chill out when a bicyclist rolls through a stop sign. First of all, a car is going to cause so much more damage. The human on the bicycle is always going to be the loser. We really should focus on self-driving cars, get the humans out of the equation. Now, it's not a long-term fix for society because cars are still too big. They're still going to cause problems even if they're self-driving and even if they're totally clean. But it's at least a good start as far as the safety concerns. So the first thing is stop signs. Now, I know what you're thinking, well, bicyclists go through stop signs all the time. That's true, but again, bicyclists are not going to kill you in your SUV. If you ever watch, the only reason cars stop at stop signs most of the time is because there's another car that's at the other side, or there's a pedestrian or something and they don't want to go to jail. If there's no cars around, they're always rolling through stop signs just like a bicyclist does. It's way more important for a car to make a complete stop than a bicycle to make a complete stop. And actually, according to the Idaho stop statistics, it's actually safer for a bicycle not to stop because the cars are going to rear end them. Most bicycle collisions are because cars are rear-ending bicycles. Turn signals are a huge problem because it's a point of communication between the car driver and the people around them. And for a bicyclist who's often not seen, or a scooter rider or whatever, they'll say like, oh, I didn't see you. Or even if they say, I saw you, it's not for the people that you see, it's for the people you don't see. So please remember to use your turn signal. Which, by the way, you have to do. If your turn signal is broken, yes, you have to stick your hand out of the car and turn signal. You're driving a death trap. It's 2 tons. You have to tell people where you're going. I've actually been victim to tailgating through, I've lost 2 taillights and actually a jar of delicious almond butter because they fell off the back of my bicycle and the cars were so close I didn't have time to stop and keep them from running over. They were literally right behind me. And I see car drivers, they're in their cars on the freeway or whatever, and I realize they don't realize that tailgating is an issue. They're just kind of relaxed and in their car, and they're right behind another vehicle moving 60 miles an hour. So people need to really think about what they're doing when they're tailgating. You're really putting everyone at risk, and when it's a bicyclist, I don't care if you're mad because they're in your way, you're going to murder them. Just put it into perspective here. I think you need to be the bigger person since you're taking the bigger vehicle and not murder people. It seems like kind of simple, just don't murder people. You have to wait for pedestrians to cross the crosswalk. That sounds super obvious, but I've seen car drivers where there's one pedestrian that goes and then the car goes in between the next pedestrian. They go in between the 2 pedestrians. You're choosing to take a giant inconvenient vehicle. You have to wait for vulnerable road users like pedestrians, bicyclists, scooter riders. That's just part of the contract, the social contract. You don't get to bully people out of your way. So yes, you have to wait for pedestrians. Speeding is a sore subject for me because electric bicycles are being limited by governments to say like you can't have a certain amount of wattage, you can't go over 20 miles an hour, 28 miles an hour, whatever it is, which is ridiculous. We are allowing 2-ton vehicles to go as fast as they want and break speed limit laws when we could easily just have governors on cars to only go a certain speed, yet we're limiting bicycles from going too fast. And again, that bicyclist is pretty much the only person that's going to be suffering if they crash. People say like, oh, you can't limit it because what if you need to accelerate? Well, what if you're a bicyclist or a pedestrian? You have very limited options to accelerate, so I think cars can deal with that too. Again, with computer vision, I thought that why can't cars sense speed limit signs and slow down to accommodate the speed limit? You're gonna say like, well, what if there's someone going too fast behind you and they don't have that technology? Well, people shouldn't be speeding. We can't allow this behavior just because people are doing it. It's dangerous, it's killing people already, so we might as well slow people down and have the system work. I mean, it doesn't seem that hard. When a car is parallel parking, you're actually not allowed to illegally go around them. You actually have to wait for them to park. Again, car drivers, you are choosing an oversized vehicle. If you were on a bicycle or a scooter, you'd have room to go around. But because you chose this giant vehicle, you actually have to wait behind the car for them to park. A lot of these things seem obvious, but we have gone so far off what is normal that people don't see following the law as normal anymore. Another law that car drivers break all the time is they use two-way left turn lanes to drive. Yes, this is illegal. Again, I allow exceptions for bicyclists because I have tried to go on the right side of cars and that seems to be suicide to me. I actually think that the city should convert two-way left turn lanes since they are very dangerous and not as useful as they were in 1950, and they should convert them to bikeways. Separate the road, avoid like cars cutting across, and you have a bike lane for real estate that really isn't being used for anything anymore anyway. The next one is passing over the double yellow line. People do this all the time, even in HOV lanes and all kinds of situations, but I have shown in video where people pretty much every day, all the time, by every car, will break this law. They will just cross over the double yellow. I don't know why people think this is okay. I guess just because they just don't want to wait. Another law that people break all the time is driving in bike lanes. You're not allowed to drive a car in a bike lane. I think we can just pretty much leave that one as is. And the number 10 law that people break all the time is parking in a bike lane. Oh, scratch that. That's actually legal. In California, there is no law prohibiting people from parking in a bike lane. How sad is that? You can actually park in a bike lane. People use children as an excuse to break the law all the time. Just because you have a kid and you hate your life and you're miserable because you chose to have kids, doesn't mean you get to have the right of way or, yell at people or be in a rush because the kid's crying or whatever, or you're late for work because you have a kid. You chose to have a kid. We didn't choose for you to have a kid. You have to plan for that. You have to be late sometimes because the kid makes you late. That's what's having a kid is. Parents are the worst drivers. There's one place, it takes 4 human beings, cones, a middle divider, and a crossing guard just to stop cars from murdering children. That's how bad parents with kids are when they drive. The solution is, of course, stop having kids and have robots driving cars. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I hope it wasn't too attacking. I know I get kind of passionate about this, but I really do want to stress that bicyclists are not causing death and injury. It is extremely rare that a bicyclist causes any damage to a car except for scratches and stuff. They're generally about 25 pounds and they're covered with a flesh-covered human. So your car is not going to get injured, but the 2,000-pound car versus the 25-pound bicycle is going to cause some damage. And, even against pedestrians, like there's very limited incidents where bicyclists are killing or injuring pedestrians. Yes, it does happen, but let's put this into perspective. Cars are killing way more people. Maybe we should do something about this. So this is why I harp on cars creating illegal behaviors versus bicyclists and scooters. Scooter and the bicyclist is not murdering people every day by the hundreds and thousands. Again, we got to put this into perspective.